Hello everyone and welcome back to game week 3 of the 2024-25 Optegra Premiership, where you join myself, Ryan Sipple, for the final game of the weekend. The inter-club derby, West Bromwich Albion versus West Bromwich Albion Throstles. Let's go through the squads very quickly before I bring you the action live. You'll see West Brom comprised of Lucas Christa, Chris Gordon, Matt Gilbert, Brad Bate, Ollie Rock, Dylan Kelsall and Barris Innell. And their challengers, West Bromwich Albion Throstles, Amy Lee Julian, Amy Wharton, Regan Kemp, Matthew Harrison, Parth Gakwad, Jonathan Davis and Abigail Bolt. Let's just bring up the live league standings so you can see what a potential 3 points for either of these two teams would do for the overall league table. West Brom top of the tree, 12 games played, 10 games won. They have 32 points to their name, one greater than any other team in the division, the closest being that of Leeds Chariots. But you're seeing how close it is when you're looking at Newcastle, Teesside and Leeds. They're all either a point or two off of West Brom. West Brom with a more favourable games played, but that means they have to go out, they need to perform, they need to get the wins in them, get them advantages if they are to capitalise. But it is just so amazing. Like, a win for Aspire in that game in hand would take them up to 29, and then you've got a 3-point difference between first and fifth. So when we're saying it's a 5-horse race, we truly mean that. Towards the bottom of the standings, a win for Throstles would be invaluable in their pursuit of Premiership safety. They have just 9 points across their 13 games, but it's slowly starting to click with Throstles. It's a big adjustment period needed for them to adapt to Colin Gordon's style of playing. But thank you to all that are tuning in. As always, get your comments, predictions and thoughts in the YouTube chat, and I'll give you a shout out. But this, the final game of what has been a long weekend, jam-packed full of fantastic football, live on Court B, set to kick off in tandem with this one. We have Villa Rockets versus Nottinghamshire. But so Jeff Lewis gets the teams in, or certainly blows his whistle to imply that. So Amy Wharton, the captain of Throstles, Chris Gordon, the captain of West Bromwich Albion, both drawn into the centre to determine which team will get kick-off, which team fields in what half. And we will soon be underway. A fantastic weekend for West Brom. The only blemish really, that 0-0 draw against Aspire, and as anyone who watches Power Chair football will know, that is not a blemish at all. Wins over Nottinghamshire and Norwich means if they're able to take 3 points from this one, it will be 10 from a possible 12, and that's what they'll need to produce if they're going to be considered as title favourites, which they currently are. Thumbs up from the keepers, and we are ready to get underway, and we absolutely are. The last game of football in game week 3 of the 24-25 Optegra Premiership, West Bromwich Albion versus West Bromwich Albion Throstles. You're joining myself, Ryan Sipple, for the action live. The team lineups: Chris Gordon, Matt Gilbert, Ollie Rock and Brad Bate for the champions. Throstles have Regan Kemp, Amy Lee Julian, Parth Gakwad and Abigail Bolt. Something we've seen fairly frequently across Throstles games this weekend is the utilisation of substitutes, and how rather uniquely they kind of split the game into two halves. And whilst Regan Kemp is the constant, will stay in goal for the full 40-minute fixture, their 3 outfield players, they have been changing completely. So at the moment, it's Amy Lee Julian, Abigail Bolt and Parth Gakwad. In the second half, it's likely to be Jonathan Davis, Amy Wharton and Matty Harrison. But West Brom coming off the back of a stalemate with Aspire, their close title rivals, always fiery, always closely contested. So it's fair to say that this game will be fought at a much lower intensity than their previous one. But we know that these two are fierce rivals, both adorning the crest of West Bromwich Albion, both train out of the same venue, both under the Albion Foundation umbrella, and also both face one another in the third round of the John Good Group WFA Cup. So only one can progress to the Derby Arena quarter-final and semi-final showcase on Sunday, May the 11th. Brad Bates fires the ball into Regan Kemp. Amy Lee Julian and Regan Kemp will have their work cut out for them this game. But that's probably been the case for all of their opposition in game week 3. It has been a tough weekend, but definite positive signs for them as Ollie Rock's going to strike the ball at the back post, cross the face of goal. Chris Gordon with an attempt. I think Chris Gordon sits one goal away from registering 200 National League goals. I'll have to confirm that definitively, but he is knocking on the door nonetheless. But if you're assessing Throstles' opposition in game week 2, certainly today they've played Teesside, Newcastle and now West Bromwich Albion, so Sundays don't come much tougher than facing 3 teams with strong aspirations of lifting the trophy come the end of May. Brad Bates into Chris Gordon, looking to pick out Ollie Rock. Ollie Rock has climbed the Albion Foundation ladder. He's now his former side, West Bromwich Albion Throstles. He's also represented West Bromwich Albion Dudley in the Championship. So a real case study, a real positive story for West Bromwich Albion to see a player come into the sport of power chair football through the various teams that they have and ultimately ending up at the champions. And should West Bromwich Albion go on to secure 2 consecutive league titles, he'll have a shiny gold medal wrapped around his neck come the end of season awards in June, but they've still got a lot of work to do to get there. And that is brilliant defending from Amy Lee Julian. It looked almost a certain goal had she not readjusted from that Brad Bates shot. Bates into Gordon. Chris Gordon just patiently waiting for the gap to present itself. Regan Kemp and Brad Bates, they'll know each other very well. Brad coached Regan Kemp at Nomad Knights last season. So an interesting and intriguing matchup between former master and apprentice. On that occasion deemed too aggressive from Kemp. Foul in favour of West Bromwich Albion. Down to Brad Bates, across the face of goal. It finds Ollie Rock, who has an attempt at goal. Just ushered out of play by Regan Kemp. They're knocking on the door. But even with that, they're not exerting a great deal of energy. Throstles have showed some really good defensive work across their games this weekend. Should there be any updates on Court B, I'll bring you them live. But as you can see there, Villa Rockets 0, Nottinghamshire 0. Regan Kemp appeals for the ball, but it's in vain, as Millie Bean, the official on this right-hand side, awards it in favour of Chris Gordon. Down to Brad Bates. Pick off over to Ollie Rock. Just cut out at the last minute. Congested in that final third. 5 players with a very small radius. Goal kick goes all the way back to Chris Gordon. A short cushioned pass to Matt Gilbert. As mentioned on commentary in my previous game from Sevenoaks and Middlesbrough, Brad Bates attempts an effort into Regan Kemp once again. Following this game, we will be posting information about how you can vote for the team of the weekend, standout player of the weekend, unsung hero of the weekend. Please go to the WFA's social media where all details will be found. I mean, any number of those West Bromwich Albion players could and will be in contention. Dylan Kelsall now top of the goal scorer charts. Well, I assume he's still top goal scorer charts. I wasn't watching Leeds Chariot win over Greenbank, so I don't know how many his closest challenger Jack Maxwell was able to score. Reference that in just a moment as Ollie Rock fires the ball into that left-hand post. So Dylan Kelsall and Jack Maxwell both on 17 goals apiece. So if and where possible, Dylan Kelsall will want to come on in this fixture and just put a little cushion between himself and Maxwell. Obviously this season, for the first time properly, we're going to be acknowledging and awarding top assist provider as an award at our end of season awards. Dan Rigby currently leading the way with 18, but if you're looking at players present on this court, Brad Bates on 14, Chris Gordon on 9, Dylan Kelsall on 7. So they're going to have, obviously, Brad Bates just 4 off of Dan Rigby, but beyond that, there's a wide margin between others and Dan Rigby. Ollie Rock keeps it live. Path Gakwad had little to no involvement. The same statement can be applied to Abigail Bolt. She just guides it down to Matt Gilbert, cushions it and keeps it in play. Still got Chris Gordon in support, who he opts to find. He just bypasses Abigail Bolt. It's a nice pass in play. Abigail Bolt and Brad Bates facing off against one another, fiancés. An interesting dynamic and rivalry between the two, but knowing them as I do, irrelevant of their relationship with one another, the ultimate objective will be to win the game for your team. Regan Kemp here, pushed high up, has to be careful. Ollie Rock high and wide on the right, looking to capitalise on any potential breaks and looking how proficient some of these West Brom players are with regards to their passing and distribution. That is always a threat, while Regan Kemp is so far out of his goal. Substitute for West Bromwich Albion. I said he would be itching to come on. He hasn't had long to wait to do exactly that. Dylan Kelsall now on in place of Oliver Rock, and with 10.5 minutes left of this first half, sorry, 9.5 minutes left of this first half. Can he influence the result? He wasn't able to do so against Aspire, but a very strong showing from him nonetheless. Over to Dylan Kelsall straight away. Fires an effort goal bound. Blocked by Regan Kemp. Out of danger. Pace picking up ever so slightly. Nice intent from Brad Bates for the pick-off over to Dylan Kelsall. Dylan Kelsall already 5 goals better off than his entire 23-24 tally. So he's really picking up the responsibility in front of goal. Obviously, some key departures, Dave Lewis and Valentino Zegarelli. Brad Bates, an acquisition, having joined from Aspire. And that is fired over the line from Dylan Kelsall, but Jeff Lewis deems it too high to be registered as the opening goal of the game. So a set ball will be contested to resume play. West Bromwich Albion 0. West Bromwich Albion Throstles 0. Battle of the Baggies remains goalless. Amy Lee Julian will have to be on guard here and alert. Dylan Kelsall has the option of Brad Bates to his right. Amy Lee Julian. Dylan Kelsall over this kick in, just vacates it. Brad Bates now. Fantastic defensive showing from Throstles. I don't want to curse it, as I so often do, but I know Colin Gordon will be really happy with some of the defensive displays they've exhibited against Newcastle, Teesside, and now West Bromwich Albion. Great teams are built off solid, competent defences, and they have that. It's just trying to unlock their wingers in attack, which has proved easier said than done in game week 3. Just the single goal they've managed to register all weekend came against Nottinghamshire yesterday. Abigail Bolt, the goal scorer of that one. Dylan Kelsall leaves that, which opens up play. Just that little dummy, so important, and a rare chance for Parth Gakwad here. Has to be careful. Chris Gordon reads the oncoming ball perfectly, winning his side. The kick in on this right-hand wing. Chris Gordon, the coach of West Bromwich Albion. Colin Gordon, the coach of West Bromwich Albion Throstles. So many talking points when you really break it down. Brad Bates fires an effort over to Matt Gilbert, and within a split second, as is often the case with West Bromwich Albion, they can completely change the tie. Brad Bates with yet another assist, now 15. He's closing in on Dan Rigby. Matt Gilbert, the goal scorer. And after 15 minutes, West Bromwich Albion, the champions, take a 1-goal advantage. Difficult for Throstles, but if you have any momentary lapses in concentration, West Brom, being as amazing as they are, will just punish you. You saw it just happen within a split second. So 4 minutes left of this first half. Albion 1, Throstles 0. into Kelsall, over to Brad Bates. Now it looks really expansive as Kelsall goes back. Very congested. Path Gackwell back to Regan Kemp. They're brave in their approach, and that was a real opportunity. Chris Gordon overcommitted there, and had Abigail Bolt been ever so slightly wider on the left-hand wing, I think she could have capitalised. It's a warning sign for West Bromwich Albion. They'll be fortunate. They're fortunate that they were let off. It's the first real opportunity, and this is what I was saying. Throstles had trouble unlocking their wingers, knowing their wingers, as I do, and what I've seen from them in previous National League seasons and weekends. They have the potential to really hurt their opponents, but it's all about that initial distribution to find them. No doubt, with their defensive work really solid, really competent, training sessions now will probably be tailored towards that attacking work and ensuring that the front and the back are connected. It feels like a little bit like a disconnect at the moment. You've got Regan Kemp and Amy Lee Julian as two very busy players at the back, and then you've got Path Gackwell and Abigail Bolt, and whilst one of them will typically support in defensive phases of play, as Abigail Bolt is here, beyond that there's no real passing or connection between them. But working on that and training, once they get that, they could be a real exciting outfit. Brad Bates into the front of Chris Gordon. Be interesting to see if Colin Gordon opts to use his substitutes as he has done for previous fixtures in game week 3, and making 3 for the second half, changing the outfield players in their entirety. If they can keep it at 1-0 going into the break, that will help, I think. You have to say, whilst West Brom have had much the better of the chances and more the attacking pressure, beyond that one goal, nothing's threatened Amy Lee Julian and or Regan Kemp a great deal. And just as I say that, Brad Bates works the gap in between the defence. I said curse of the commentator happens more often than I care to admit. That was the case. Dylan Kelsall with the assist, Brad Bates with the goal. Let's get that on your screens. Albion 2, Throstles 0. Now it's really opening up. That takes Brad Bates on to 15 assists this season. He's also got 10. That puts him on double digits for goals. So he'll be impressed with that tally. Got some ground to make up if he's to match his tally in the 23-24 campaign. However, I think he got 23 or 24 finishes in Aspire's 22 games. Let me get confirmation. Sorry, 26, joint with Marcus Harrison. So if he scores that, which he so nearly does, 10 seconds before the end of the half-time break. But I think the responsibility in front of goal is more shared amongst the West Bromwich Albion team than it was or would be with Aspire. Regulation 20 played. So Abigail Bolt prevents that from reaching Matt Gilbert. Jeff Lewis takes a glance at his watch. Whistle in the mouth, and that signals the end of the first half. Albion 2, Throstles 0. It was, again, a good defensive display from Throstles. They've still got 20 minutes to try and influence the result in their favour, but that is going to be incredibly challenging to do so. It was Brad Bates opening the scoring, Matt Gilbert opening the scoring after 15 minutes, and Brad Bates with a second after 18. Thank you to all that are tuning in. I'll be back very shortly for the second half. Hello everyone and welcome back to the final half of football in game week 3 of the 2024-25 Optegra Premiership. Currently West Bromwich Albion 2, West Bromwich Albion Throstles 0. It was fairly one-way traffic in terms of momentum and attacking pressure, but it was good defensive resilience from Throstles nonetheless, and it was just 2 lapses in concentration that saw West Bromwich Albion get their goals. As suspected would be the case, Colin Gordon continuing to make 3 substitutes in the second half, completely changing the outfield players. So I'll bring confirmation of those substitutes now. Jonathan Davis on in that central role in place of Amy Lee Julian. So there's confirmation of change number 1. Change number 2 is that of Amy Wharton on in place of Abigail Bolt. Confirmation of change number 2. And the third and final change sees Matty Harrison come on in place of Parth Gakwad. So all 3 changes processed on our app for your viewing, and now we are properly underway. Interesting to see the approach from West Bromwich Albion Throstles. Likewise from West Brom, they can kind of take their foot off the gas ever so slightly, but with the title race being so closely contested in terms of points, we could see the determination of champion come down to goal difference. And whilst that's unlikely to be the case, it always has to be in the back of the minds of people in and around the top placements of the division. West Brom with the most favourable goal difference of any team in our National League Premiership. It's a great goal. I apologise for the lapsing in commentary. I had Jeff Lewis standing in front, obstructing my vision, but either way, short, snappy passes. It went via every single player from the West Bromwich Albion squad. Chris Gordon will go down as the assist provider. Once again, it will be Matt Gilbert registered as the goal scorer, but you're seeing that 4-out style of play at the absolute highest level there. All 4 players were condensed into the Throstles half, but all allowing enough distance between them to avoid 2-on-1 infringements. But 22.5 minutes played. It's Albion 3, it's Throstles 0. And you're probably going to see Chris Gordon look to utilise his substitutes within the latter stages of this half now. Barrisina will be itching to come on. Lucas Christa likewise. I'd like to see Lucas Christa come on in a central capacity. Obviously he's used predominantly as the most defensive of the 4 players, donning the goalkeeper jersey, but that is very much on the shoulders of Chris Gordon currently. So if he does come on, we will see where he features. He's wearing the lilac strip on the bench. Dylan Kelsall will be just out a shot. Takes the corner kick over to Ollie Rock, fires an effort. Too much height there. Something we're seeing so often in game week 3 is the ball just being fired high off the surface of the Lee Westwood Sports Centre, which obviously on the referee's discretion typically results in a set ball resuming play. I think a 2-on-1 was awarded just before that ball was fired into the sky, but Chris Gordon to take indirect. He's got Dylan Kelsall as his closest option, which he picks over the face of goal. Ollie Rock engages, blocked by Jonathan Davis. Ollie Rock into Chris Gordon. To the back wheel, John O'Davis. Patient play from Chris Gordon. Breakaway from Regan Kemp. Closed off by Dylan Kelsall. Sounds as if there's been yet another goal on court B. Once that is registered, I'll bring confirmation of that. Dylan Kelsall now. 180 into the side of Regan Kemp. Pick off over to Matt Gilbert. Jonathan Davis down to Matty Harrison, picked off to Amy Walton, flicked back over to Matty Harrison. They had to be careful of their placements. We saw this in their game earlier, giving away 2-on-1s. Amy Walton and Matty Harrison as the two typical high and wide wingers always have to be considerate of their placement to one another. Matt Gilbert, unselfish, could have gone for goal himself, but looking to put it on a plate for Ollie Rock. Confirmation of that Court B scoreline. Villa Rockets now 3 goals to the good against Nottinghamshire, which helps Throstles. They're probably their closest rival with regards to the league standings. And with what I believe is only a point separating them, we could see one of either Throstles or Nottinghamshire be drawn into that that 10th place playoff position. It currently belongs to Nottinghamshire with 8 points, but Middlesbrough in 11th also have 8 points. But Throstles, of their 14 game play, have 9 points, so close at the bottom as well. Flicked out of danger by Chris Gordon. 2-on-1 once again. Amy Wharton. This time, John O'Davis too close. Chris Gordon breaks away, unable to keep it in play. Substitute signalled by the officials. Lucas Christa is going to come on. He is going to come on for Chris Gordon. So depending on the way they set up, he will be at the base of their team. Either way, great to see him playing as Dylan Kelsall carves out the opening. Almost effortless from the Albion number 27. It was the interception from John O'Davis's deep kick in and a quick 1-2 with Ollie Rock. 28 minutes in. Albion 4, Throstles 0. It's proven to be a really good professional performance. That puts Dylan Kelsall up as the top goal scorer of the 24-25 Optegra Premiership. Now has one more than his closest challenger, Jack Maxwell of Leeds Chariots. We're looking at team statistics of their games played so far in the Optegra Premiership. West Brom have got an average of 3.3 goals per game, and that is really impressive. They're also They only concede 0.3 goals per game, so solid at the back as well. I mean, we've referenced on commentary just how good Newcastle are with regards to their defensive work. They've only conceded 2 goals all season, and that had a 10-game clean sheet run in between goals conceded in game week 1 and game week 3. So they're the only team that boasts a more favourable defensive record. 0.14 goals per game conceded by Newcastle United Foundation. If you're wondering where I'm getting all these stats from, that is the WFA scoreline app, which you can find on your respective app store. It's been an absolute game changer for the sport of power chair football in England. It's been an absolute game changer for us commentators, being able to talk through live league standings and player stats. And it gives recognition to these players. It shines a spotlight on their accomplishments, which are so impressive. But we've never really had that tool, that functionality to let you know in real time. It's always typically been in retrospect. We process our data and then we can go again, and how it would be in years gone by is we'd talk about it in game week 4, but with such large gaps in between our game weeks in the National League, we want to talk about them, the stories as and when they're happening. Ollie Rock vacates the space. Lucas Christa now in an advanced position. Patient play from the Albion number 8. Yes, Matt Gilbert down the line, who he opts to pick. Returns the favour to Lucas Christa. Across the box. Nearly found the gap between Regan Kemp and John O'Davis. There was some audible gasps from the Albion substitutes to my left-hand side. Nine minutes to play. Once again, a exceptional weekend of National League football here in Nottingham. 12th and 13th of April is the next bout of Premiership football. I think the first weekend in April is the next bout of Championship football. That is a sensational pass from Lucas Christa. Likewise from Gilbert over to Ollie Rock. It deserved a goal, but John O'Davis prevented it. Just watching it back, that sort of distribution from Lucas Christa is exactly why he's earned the opportunity to represent West Brom, the champions of England, the cup holders, and why he will want to contribute positively to them replicating the achievements of 23-24. They've recently been crowned West Midlands champions, so they're on for the treble, although they have a lot of football to be played if they are to secure those titles. And I'm sure several teams tuning in will have something to say about that, whether you're Newcastle, whether you're Leeds, whether you're Teesside, and whether you are Aspire. Never seen a 5-horse race for the Premiership title. The nature of the cup, the John Good Group WFA Cup, it's a random draw, so you could see West Brom and Aspire draw each other in the quarter-finals, which would take one of their positions out of the potential final at St George's Park. So we will see. It was fantastic. Whilst it's always an incredible showcase between West Brom and Aspire at St George's Park, which has been the final for several of the last iterations, seeing other teams compete and be present, as Ollie Rock's going to try and have an attempt at goal. Matt Gilbert likewise. When we had Newcastle present in the 22-23 WFA Cup final, and when we had Northern Thunder in the 21-22, it was fantastic viewing, provide an opportunity for a team that's never yet competed at St George's Park to be part of that televised final, one of the standouts in our Power Chair football calendar. But round 3 fixtures still to be contested, and there will be some very heavy hitters present at Derby. The Derby Arena on Sunday, May the 11th. A substitute for West Bromwich Albion. I think he's calling Matt Gilbert off the court. Barris Innell ready to feature for the first time this game. bring confirmation of that substitute. Really positive performance from Matt Gilbert. Has been such a unsung hero of this West Brom team for so many years. Whilst others get the headlines, Chris Gordon's, your Dylan Kelsel's, your Valentino Zegarelli's, it's players such as him that are so fundamental to the way they play, and Chris Gordon has so much trust in him now, knows if and when he wants him to play at the highest level, he will, and he will seamlessly slot in. And his versatility as well, he's developed so much in the last 2 or 3 seasons, and should he not feature any further in this game, he has an assist and 2 goals to his name, so a fantastic cap-in for him. Dylan Kelsall into Barricino, can't quite make contact on the 180, out of play. Regan Kemp trying to find Matty Harrison. It's a brave approach from Throstles. We saw it a few times in the first half. Goalkeeper against goalkeeper here, as Regan Kemp forces it into the side of Dylan Kelso, who's rooted to that right-hand post. Amy Wharton just driving into the side of Barricino there. And rightfully so, Jeff Lewis awards the foul in Barricino's favour. Looks as if Chris Gordon has signalled Mark Kerrison as the nearest official to make a substitute, and I wonder if we can see Chris Gordon feature outfield now. That's exactly the case. Double substitute. Dylan Kelsall and Ollie Rock come off. Brad Bates and Chris Gordon come on. Not a bad double substitute to make, it must be said. Chris Gordon, his first involvement since his reintroduction. Final few minutes, it's going to be a comprehensive win for Albion, who end game week 3 top of the table for the first time this season. Game weeks 1 and 2 have both been topped by Leeds Chariots. Gordon into the gap, over to Brad Bates, squeezes the ball between Amy Wharton and Regan Kemp. It didn't look like there was a gap to find, but Brad Bates, with his laser accuracy, manages to find it. And 38 minutes in, it's Albion 5, Throstles 0. A difficult defeat for Throstles, who will go back to the drawing board and look to process these results and performances and try and figure out a game plan to ensure that in game weeks 4 and 5 they accumulate enough points to take themselves away from the danger areas, the jeopardy spots of the division. But it has been a long week, and I think they contested the first game yesterday morning, and they are contesting the final game here on Sunday evening. So maintaining concentration, alertness, performance levels across 2 days is a real challenge, as Brad Bates receives the ball, pick off from Chris Gordon. Can see what it means to them. It is ecstatic football. It is you run out of superlatives. Brad Bates so patient, made the connection, and Chris Gordon fires it over the line. I want to say that is Chris Gordon's 200th National League goal. I will officially confirm that across social media if that is the case. I think I've just had confirmation from Jeff Lewis that that is the case. So a huge congratulations, a trailblazer in every sense of the word, one of the best players to ever play the sport of power chair football. He's a pleasure to know, he's a pleasure to commentate on, and that's the sort of form we need him on come the EPFA Nations Cup in September. 200 National League goals, which I believe takes him up to 8th or 7th as the all-time top goal scorer. I think he replaces Charlie Kitcher and as the current person in 7th. So now the 7th all-time top goal scorer in the WFA National League. So we will, of course, put a spotlight on that once we're doing our social recaps of the National League. But if you want to commend him, by all means, do so in the Team of the Weekend poll, the Player of the Weekend poll, or the Unsung Hero of the Weekend poll, which will go live as soon as the game is finished on Court B. We are full-time here. Albion 6, Throstles 0. A fantastic performance from the champions, looking to add yet another league title to their names. They've got 2 more weekends to contest, but if you're referencing that table, they've now got a 4-point buffer over Leeds below them. They have a game in hand on Leeds below them, and everything from their goal difference to their win accumulation means they have to be considered as the favourites. Thank you to all that have tuned in to myself across game week 3 of the Premiership, and we will be back at the start of April for game week 4 of the National League Championship. Thank you all.